Member for Narungga.
Thank you kindly, Mr Speaker. And I rise to follow up from a question I asked today in question time regarding mobile phone towers, with a brief contribution to this chamber about the importance of digital connectivity around our electorate and around our community. And there is absolutely no doubt, as everyone in this chamber would be well aware, that it is becoming increasingly important that our communities and our businesses are capable of connecting to one another over the airwaves, and with the majority of houses now sans landline and majority of business now done on the internet. And that's just not bricks and mortar businesses, that's our farming businesses. It's those businesses like food trucks that get around and serve those wonderful community events, and those markets that we have in communities up and down the peninsula. But the majority of business in our electorate is now being done online, and it's becoming increasingly important that we have access to phone towers and to digital connectivity to ensure that that business can take place. Another factor that's well worth considering when discussing digital connectivity is, of course, the access that we need in the case of emergency, in case of bushfire, in case of grass fire, or any other emergency that might well take place. And I can imagine that there'd be nothing more scary than having a bushfire bearing down on your home or property and not having a single phone bar to call for emergency services or assistance. So there are a whole plethora of reasons that we need to continue to invest in digital connectivity, including those two that I've just mentioned. But unfortunately, on the Yorke Peninsula, in my electorate, we've got quite a few different black spots around the electorate that could do with an upgrade or could do with an increase in their access to this vital service. And we've advocated for a great deal, many, Mr Speaker, including, but not limited to, the Melton community on the Arthurton Road there, Winalta, Dowlingville, Nally Upper Road. We've done our best to get a new phone tower put just south of Broughton at Youngs Road there to service those homes and communities there, including at Butte, Ninnis, Kolpara and Willamolka. And a very important one, Mr Speaker, such has been the explosion of tourism that has started visiting Innis National Park. And I'm sorry, I won't get the full name because I'm not particularly good at the pronunciation, but what used to be known as Innis National Park, such as the explosion of visitors that now go down there on a regular basis, we need to find a way to improve phone service in that community or in that part of the electorate. And that would service the Marion Bay community as well, who I've had the great pleasure of working with quite closely to try and improve their service. They, in that community, would love to see that tower either moved or shifted or raised to make sure that that can provide a greater level of service to a far bigger surface area. With 130,000 visitors per year going to Innis National Park, it certainly would be an investment well made. We also have the Urania community, which the wonderful old Urania Uniting Church has sold recently, so there'll be a new venture moving in there, and they could well do with the phone service when they're in their kitchen or living room. I'm well sure. Point Suda and others, Mr Speaker. I also want to make particular mention of the Tickerra community, which was the subject of my question. I have had the great pleasure of working with Janet Sexton and Chris on a number of occasions to try and figure out a way that we can get a phone tower there for Tickerra. I was pleased to organise a meeting with Telstra and the Council and the federal member for Grey, Rowan and Ramsay relatively recently. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend because the government was in caretaker mode, but I'm led to believe that it went quite well with Telstra accepting that it is a black spot and worthy of being funded and improved. And now the battle just shifts to trying to secure that funding to make sure we can get that tower built and the Tickerra community can finally have some better phone service. So I look forward to taking up that fight on behalf of that community to ensure that they've got the services that they require. Unfortunately, over the last few years, we haven't had a great deal of success in Narungga, Mr Speaker. Over the last 3 rounds of the Black Spot program, I don't believe, as far as I can tell, that we've had a single phone tower committed to our electorate, and that problem was best articulated, or was perhaps articulated at least when I posed that question in question time, and we had a list of 11 towers that were still being built or in the process of being built, none of which were in the seat of Narungga. So I give, in this chamber, give a commitment to the people of our electorate that continue to fight to try and get some more towers, to get some towers built in some of those towns that I've mentioned, some of those communities that are missing, and hopefully, and we have better luck in the rounds that are coming up, and hopefully this government now sees, and it was pleasing to hear that the Minister commit to making it a part of the budget process and then considering funding it going forward, and hopefully it gets favourable consideration as part of the budget in the coming months and years, and we can get some phone towers knocked up in Narungga. But it's a really important issue, one that I'm keen to go into bat for our constituents on, and I look forward, hopefully, to having better results in the future.
Member for Hart.